Okay, so for the experiments that we've got underway, we have the tagged fish which are sitting in the tanks. We're going to keep them here for approximately 40 days, and we're going to monitor those fish now for mortalities to see if any of the fish die after being tagged, or to see if any of the tags have fallen out of the fish, which is what we call tag shedding. So one of the most important aspects now is to make sure that the water quality in this tank is good and supports the fish. And we also need to check the tanks every day to have a look if there's any tags which are left in the tanks which have fallen out of the fish. So the next part of these will be to go through the process of monitoring the water quality and the fish themselves for tag loss. Okay, so there's some critical components we need to check every day for the fish. Perhaps the first thing we need is a magnet. Now the reason we have this magnet is so that we can sweep the bottom of the tank for presence of any tags that have fallen out. So we will, because the tag has a copper coil in it, it's magnetic and will attract to this magnet. So we use this every day. Okay, so a key thing we have to do every single day is to monitor the tanks for their water quality. There's three main parameters that we're very interested in. We have to monitor for ammonia, we have to monitor for nitrite, and we have to monitor for nitrate. So here we're using the API test kits. Each of the API test kits come with a sample jar. It's very simple. All we need to do is take a sample from the tank, fill the water up to the graduated line that's mentioned there. Then we put the reagents in to watch for the water colour changes, and then that tells us what the levels are. Because the next step contains some toxic reagents, it's best practice to use protective gloves and also protective eyewear. So for the ammonia test, we take the sample jar. There's two reagents, reagent 1 and reagent 2. We need 8 drops of each. So we shake the two reagents together. Then we leave the sample here for around about 5 minutes, and it will change colour, and we'll be able to match the colour on the card to the colour in the jar, and that will tell us what the ammonia levels are. Ideally, the ammonia will be 0, and if we start to see anything that's over around about 0.25, we start to think about doing water changes or something in the water chemistry that can bring that ammonia level down. Next we'll do the nitrite test. Nitrite can be very toxic to fish even at very low concentrations. So this one's only 5 drops of the reagent. And we shake the jar for 5 seconds. Then we leave it for about 5 minutes for the reaction to happen. Okay, so the final sample here is nitrate. Nitrate has 2 reagents. The first one, 10 drops. And then we just invert the jar to mix the reagent through the fluid. We then take the cap off. Now for bottle 2, we have to shake the bottle for 30 seconds, 10 drops. Then we need to shake this mixture for 1 minute. Okay, so the next step is to take the standard water quality measurements. So we're talking temperature, pH, dissolved oxygen, conductivity and salinity. And to do that we use what's known as a multi-probe meter. This is a Hariba. It's fairly common, but you can use any one that's available on the market. What's important prior to taking the samples is to expose the sensors, and you need to remove the safety caps from these two here. You then replace the cover, and then the unit's ready to take the samples from the tank. So it's very important that we keep continually moving the probe so that we get an accurate dissolved oxygen measurement. It's also important that we make constant measurements of the data, so we make a recording of this every day, and that we graph this every day so that we can monitor any subtle changes in the water quality. Particularly things like pH and dissolved oxygen can crash very rapidly, and so it's important to measure at least once per day, but preferably 2 or 3 times.
pH 7.5, conductivity 0.082, turbidity 7.6, DO milligrams per litre 9.82, and DO percentage 94.7.
So if the water quality parameters are high, you'll need to do a water change. If not, it's always good practice to do a water change at least twice per week. And that's 25% of the water in the tank where the fish are held.